Hey everyone, first of all, thank you very much for joining this video. In this video, you will learn what MCP is, why it's a game changer, and how you can connect these powerful AI assistants like Claude and Amazon Q to real-world data. Plus, I'll also show you a live demo using the Capital.com API for live trading. Just a quick note on that, this video is not sponsored by Capital.com. I'm simply a user of their platform. And since they have an API for live trading, I thought it would be an awesome experience to use it with my AI assistants. So let's dive into it. It all started with the rise of generative AI when large language models or LLMs became widely available to consumers. LLMs are trained on massive amounts of data, allowing them to answer your questions almost instantly. Picture this, you ask a question in a chat interface like ChatGPT, and it responds back with a spot-on answer drawing from its vast knowledge that it was trained on. But there is a catch: data recency. Data recency is very important. These models are often trained on data that's months or even years old, so they cannot always keep up with the latest information. What if you need real-time data, like today's stock prices or a new company policy? That's where retrieval augmented generation, or simply put, RAG, comes in. RAG gives LLMs tools to fetch fresh data, like querying a database or calling an API to provide up-to-date answers. Businesses love it for use cases like accessing knowledge bases such as HR documents or troubleshooting guides, or even taking actions like booking a car or a taxi or a hotel. As AI agents became more integrated into workflows, think chatbots, virtual assistants, and developer tools, the AI community hit a major roadblock. By the end of 2020s, developers were building custom integrations for LLMs to talk to APIs and data sources, but it was chaos. Every API had its own quirks, different authentication methods, data formats, and update cycles. This led to inconsistent performance, security risks, and endless maintenance. Imagine a developer in 2023 trying to connect an LLM to a stock trading API one day and then the weather API the next, each requiring a complete code overhaul. The community needed a better way, a standard protocol to streamline how AI agents communicate with external tools. Without it, businesses couldn't scale their AI solutions efficiently, and developers were stuck in a cycle of patching and rebuilding. The demand for standardization set the stage for a game changer in AI development, which we'll explore next. Enter the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, created by Anthropic. And the best part, it's open source. MCP provides a standard interface for LLMs to interact with tools and APIs seamlessly. Think of it as a middleware that simplifies the connection between complex APIs and your AI. Big players like AWS and Microsoft and Google are already on board, and businesses offering APIs currently are building MCP servers left and right. With MCP, integrating a new tools is as easy as a single configuration change that you do on your client side on a large language model. I will walk you through what MCP servers are out there and show you how to build your own using the Capital.com API for the trading. Stick around for the demo. All right, demo time now. The first thing that you do is you need to be aware of the Model Context Protocol website. So it's modelcontextprotocol.io. So here we already talked about the architecture of MCP servers, which starts with a host, and in that it could be LLM, it could be Claude, it could be an IE or IDE or any other tools. And then it uses MCP protocol to connect to the MCP server, and then MCP server maintains connection to the local data sources, or possibly a remote service or an API that it has access to, right? That would be available as tools. Now, if we look at the available MCP servers, so we can quickly go and see what are the different available MCP servers. We click on the example MCP servers. So we have an MCP server which is file system, a Postgres client, or SQL or Google Drive. All these are currently available Brave search is one which if you want to search web as well as local as well, so it provides you that API. Fetch, Puppeteer, Slack, you can see companies who were providing APIs before, now they are creating these MCP servers, like Slack is one, Google Maps, and then so on and so forth. We have AWS knowledge base as well. And then we have Cloudflare, we have Neon, we have so many, Stripe as well. That's another one, which is very interesting. Docker, Kubernetes, Snowflake, and then a lot of those, right? So, and to configure that, it's just a configuration change, and then you will be up and running. But we want to build our own, right? So we want to connect to the capital.com public API. I'll come to that. But before that, let's quickly go and see a quick example, right? So there are multiple SDKs available when it comes to MCP. If you are familiar with Python, Python is available, TypeScript, Java, Kotlin, C Hash, and so many other SDKs are available. So you can start with Python. That is my favorite language. So if I click on it, it will open the GitHub page. And in here, it starts with some introductions. And then the first thing it does, it uses UV package manager. So the first thing is you need to install the package manager. So there's a link for this. So you can click on this and you install that. It's called UV. But if you're you already are comfortable with PIP, which is another Python package manager. If you're comfortable with that, you can still use that. But the overall recommendation here is to use UV as per this line. I'll continue to use that. The first thing is to initialize the project. So I'll quickly go and open my terminal, right? Let me maximize this a bit more. Okay. In this, I'll just paste that link. So I'm in my projects directory. And if I run this, it automatically created a folder for me. And you can see the folder has been created over here. Now the next step is to go and change directory and then go into that folder. If I do that, it has created some files for me already. Now the second thing is that it will install some of the packages, right? So you just simply run this and it automatically installs some packages for you. And if you're using pip, you can continue to use that as I mentioned before. We'll skip this. And then once you're done, then you can run the MCP server standalone, and then you can create a client to connect to that. But that's not our goal. So we already created the Python project for us, but now we need to create a server in that, right? So we copy this file. First, let's go back, and then I want to open everything in my Visual Studio Code, all these files. I'll open there. So I open my Visual Studio Code. I'll maximize this full screen. Okay, so you can see I have the same directory. It has git ignores, we have readmes and UV locks and things like that. We need to create a new file. The file would be server.py. You can name it anything. So I created this and I paste the same code that we had over here, right? So I just pasted the whole code here. So what it does is it initially imports a package, Python package called fast MCP from MCP Server. This is what it's available, and it's available to use. All the MCP servers needs to import this. The second thing is that it just is initializing that MCP server with a name. We call it a demo. It could be anything. And then we create these tools, right? So the first tool we are creating is with this decorator. We specify the tool that we have. It's just adding two numbers, adding A and B. You specify A and B, and it will return that the sum to you. Now you can imagine with what you can do here, right? So the same tools will then configure when we're integrating with the capital.com public API. We will use these tools there. Then the second thing is a resource. It's a resource, could be it's a greeting as of now. It can also have prompts. It can have, so many other things that you can introduce here. But for the time being, I think what's more important is the tooling part, where you can interact with multiple tools. So I copied this and I simply go back to my Visual Studio environment, and this is what we have. So I save this. So now that we have the server.py file created in our project folder, which was automatically created by UE. So till this point, we have not written a single line of code. We're just copying what we have in the demo environment. So we go back to the GitHub page, and we can simply see we have the server.py here. The first step now is to install this server in the Claude desktop. Now to do that, it's just a simple one-line code command, MCP install server.py. Now before this, you need to have Claude desktop installed. If you have not, click on this link, which is available in the GitHub page. You can click on it, it can install the Claude desktop. So once you have that installed, I already have that installed and have it open. You can see the different tooling available. Right now, it's only file system available. And I can also check for the other tools as well. So if I click on the developer and then I click on edit, and it will open this file for me. Right now, this is the only file. The file system is only one of the MCP servers that is currently available. And I can go back to my terminal to run that command. So I'll first go and then fetch this command, which is MCP install server.py, and then go back to my terminal. Before running MCP, the command, it really needs to know where MCP is installed. Right now, this is installed in the virtual environment. So we need to activate the virtual environment first. So to do that, we just say source, and that's it, right? So now I have the virtual environment activated, and I can then simply run that, and what it will do is that it will add the demo MCP server to my Claude config. If I go back to Claude right now, I can see if I open this again, you see here now it has added the configuration. But Claude doesn't automatically read these configurations, right? So what I'll need to do is I'll first need to exit this. I'll quit this and then open this again. Okay, so now we have the two tools available. So one is the demo, and in the demo we have add tool, and we have another MCP server file system, and it has multiple tools available for it to access. Now the next step is let's implement capital.com API and create an MCP server for that. All right, now that we have learned about MCP servers, now let's talk about some real world scenarios. So the scenario that I have chosen is to be able to do live trading. So large language models, they train on vast amounts of data, but they don't have that current information about stocks, for example. I want to integrate an MCP server for capital.com, which provides you that trading information. There's tons of methods that are available if you go to the capital.com API, but I've selected only the few which would make sense, like for example, authentication, buying and selling. So you configure the MCP server with your large language model. In the demo, we will be talking about Claude and Amazon Q, but you can integrate this any other large language model of your choice. Now, a typical scenario would be you ask a question, what is the price of Apple? Buy a stock, sell a stock, or you show historical prices. So this is a typical scenario. Now, before I dive into the actual code, I want to show you a quick demo. I have already configured the Claude as well as Amazon Q. I'll show both the interfaces. Now with Claude, if you click on the toggle button over here, the demo, which was done in the previous session, is already there. We have the capital.com MCP server available. What is the price of Apple, right? So now it doesn't know the price of Apple. That's why it needs to call that tool that is available. So the first step is to authenticate. It was successful. The second step is it's searching for the term, and then it now knows it needs to search for Apple, and it now has the current price of Apple available. So you can see it understands the current price of Apple. It shows the bid and ask price, and it also shows you the time as well, and it's the current time. Now this is one use case, and you can integrate, you can ask additional questions as well. I'll switch over to Amazon Q, which has the same experience, and it's using the same MCP server which I created. And you can see how we can interact with that. Okay, so now we are in the console. So Amazon Q works as a CLI. So the CLI for that is Q chat. If you run Q chat, first of course you need to install Amazon Q. I will show you the instructions there, but if you do that, it will launch the Amazon Q CLI. Now as soon as it begins, you can see on top it was able to load that MCP server, right? So every time you open this chat using the CLI, using your terminal, it will load in the MCP server automatically, because I have added that as in the configurations. So I can ask the same question: what is the price of Tesla? Right? So what it'll do is the same goes for this as well. Now it doesn't have the access to the current price, but it does have the tool, right? So it's now calling that tool. It's asking me to make sure that I trust this, and I'm trusting this, and then you can see now it's getting the price, and based on this, now it's showing the bid price and the ask price, and the market is currently closed. It's also mentioning that. Now a fun question would be, if I ask the question, what would be the best stop loss and take profit for Tesla stock based on the support and resistance levels, right? So now it needs to look for the historical prices, and it also needs to make sure what are the support and the resistance levels, and then based on that, it needs to give me a value for a good stop loss and or take profit. And now it is giving some responses, right? So the key resistance levels are 294 and 295. You also see there are multiple resistance levels that it was able to identify using the last 30 days. It also identified some support levels as well, right? And now using the current price, right? And it also understands the recent trend as well. It understands that it's an upward trend after bouncing from 277. So now the support was there. Now it's going towards the resistance level. Now it is also giving some recommendations. It's pretty interesting. So based on your mindset, right? So if you are going long, right? So in that case, there are multiple approaches that it's giving: conservative approach, moderate approach, and aggressive approach. For all these, it's giving a take profit and then stop loss. At the same time, for the short position as well, and it gives you a detailed recommendation at the same time. So you can see how powerful this becomes, right? So now you have an AI that can help you make important financial decisions for you. Okay, so now let's go on and see how all this was configured. So to begin with, I will be providing you this GitHub repository. So I've created a GitHub repository for MCP servers. Now the first server, it happens to be capital.com, but in the future, I might add other servers as well. So in this, I created a folder, capital.com MCP server. Right now, the README is shared, so you can go through the README, which is specific to capital.com as of now. And it also talks about you need to have UV installed, which we talked about in the previous section. And at the same time, the environment file is important. This is in this main directories. When you do the clone for the whole repository, in this directory, you will have a .env example file. If you open that, you have the base URL. This is a demo URL. There's a prod URL as well. I'll show that to you. You replace with the API key, the password, and identifier. The identifier is your email address. And you don't need to do anything else. Just rename this to .env, and it would work. Okay, that's an important step. And then once you do that, you just go to that same directory where you have cloned your this repository, and you simply need to run MCP install capital MCP server. And as soon as you do that, what will happen is that it will automatically create a config file on in Claude desktop, and it will look like this. So it will automatically add this information to your Claude desktop configuration, and it points to that wherever you have put it, right? So in this case, I have put it in under my documents and projects, and you can see it here. It is referenced here. Now the only difference is with Amazon Q. With Amazon Q, what you need to do is, I'll go back to my terminal. So for Amazon Q, you need to go to the AWS and Amazon Q, right? So this is the path that you need. And of course, you need to install the AWS CLI for this, as well as Amazon Q for this. So once you go to this path here, you need to create an MCP .json file. And I have already created this. It's the same configuration that we have in Claude. The only difference is the path that is different, right? Okay. So once you do this, you'll be up and running. Okay. One thing to remember here is that the capital.com public API, it has tons of other methods as well. Right now, I've only created like create position and then close position and update position, right? So that's something that I've done. There are so many other APIs that are available, but for the sake of this demo, for this experiment, I've only chosen a few. And the list of those methods are down below. You can see authenticate, account info, search markets, get prices, positions, and all these sorts of things, right? So to get the API, you first need to log in to your capital.com account. And in here, you quickly go on and go to the settings. And in the settings, you click on the API integrations. And then here, you generate an API key, right? And then when you want to access the URL, so in the general information, there are two types of URLs. One is the main URL, which is your prod account, and the second one is the demo URL. So I'm using demo for the sake of this, but you can switch on to either of these, right? So now that you have information about the environment file, which is, just go back to the environment file here. So now you have information about the URL, the API key that you get from there, the password. This is your password for your account, and the identifier. This is the identifier for the which is the email address, right? So account identifiers, right? So you have all this information. I'll share this link with you. Feel free to download it, work with it, and if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. Now let's go through a quick overview of how this looks like, right? So here it is importing the client, right? So capital underscore client, right? So this is an important piece which I'll talk about that, but all the methods are implemented under this file. And as I mentioned before, fast MCP is the library or the package that is needed for this to create any MCP server. Now, apart from all these, first you initialize the MCP server, you give it a name, you give it some instructions so that the large language models understand what the use of this MCP is. It also gives you some of the toolings as well that you can specify, and then any dependencies. Okay, now quickly I'll go through I'll skip through the additional functions, but I'll focus on the decorator, the MCP.tool, right? So I have created these multiple tools. One is the authenticate, right? So this is an important one. where it needs to check if it's authenticated. If not, then it needs to go back and authenticate. Now it is calling this client.authenticate. Now I have implemented this logic in that that file or the class that I have talked about in the beginning. The second tool is getAccountInfo, right? And it just invokes the first either check if it's authenticated. If not, it gets authenticated, and if it is, then it needs to call the getAccountInfo method in that client class. Now, these are multiple tools that you can see that are currently available, but you can add more. If you have any other tools in mind, you can create a pull request and I can review it and then maybe merge it going forward. But this would cover majority of the use cases, right? So, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Please support me. This is my first video, and if you like it, please like the video, share it. If you have some friends that would be interested in this concept, please do that. I really need your support. Thank you so much for your time.